It's New York Fashion Week, it's start of the season. What's impressed you so far of what we've seen? We haven't had that long so far, but also what are we excited for? Natalie, start with you.
So interestingly enough, I haven't seen a lot of it, but I watched the Jason Wu show and the Pabelgerung, and I think I may have said this last season, I remember saying this last season, I think a lot of the designers are growing up, but they're keeping their cool, they're keeping their sexy, they're keeping their youthfulness about them, but they're starting to sort of step into that sport luxe mood that we've known and associated so long, a while ago, obviously with Calvin Klein and Michael Kors. So I find New York each season gets more and more exciting, and is always, I think, going to be the one to watch.
Holly, what are you excited about? Would you agree with that? Do you find it does feel exciting at the moment?
I do, actually, and the thing that I love about New York is actually it's the clothes that I want to wear. Like more than most fashion weeks, actually. I feel like I'm kind of shopping, which is, I mean, that's what I kind of look at fashion for. What do I love? Like, what do I want to wear? What do I, as well as what I'm thinking about to do with the magazine, that's kind of outside of me. But yeah, and I love New York for that, because I'm thinking, what's Mark doing? Like, you know, and even today I was looking at all of the VPL stuff. I love that kind of fashion. I'm just like, what can I wear that's the most comfy in the world? So yeah, that I love New York for
It's
that.
interesting that you're excited about that, because that's a criticism that I was going to ask you, Cobbie, because stylists often say that New York's boring, it's all about just kind of sellable stuff. But
well, it's a wearable wardrobe, you know, and I think that it's interesting because obviously, especially when looking at someone like a designer like Alexander Wang today, he is someone that is at the epicenter of that, and he really pushes boundaries in terms of how can I reinterpret, you know, a jogger, how can I reinterpret just a t-shirt, you know, how can I reinterpret so much levels of sportswear that we all wear like day in, day out, but just take it on a level where it's not so in your face, but it's a minimal kind of nod to moving things forward. And spring, summer, I mean, I do love autumn, winter. I think that, you know, it's lovely to be able to layer, but I think that with spring, summer, especially with Alexander Wang, he really knows how to incorporate that and keep that sort of fun element of layering and being able to wear a few pieces but still be light and airy, like especially with what we saw with his last spring, summer collection. You know, there was so much sort of layerability. I don't know if that's a word. That's not a word.
It is now.
There was so much opportunity for you to kind of wear things like a top upon a top upon a top, and just kind of like it still feel really light, and
you
still
really
feel
see
summer.
all of the pieces, don't you, as kind of individual pieces, and it kind of reminds you of the things that you do wear every day. That's a bit like that. You're like, yeah, actually, that's cool to wear it like that. And
But also these guys, him in particular, they're exactly where we are all at now in the industry, not just with the fashion industry. And I always say somebody like Alexander Wang at the moment is like a piece of really sassy, cool, sexy technology that you have it and you think, gosh, what did we do when we didn't have this? And he seems to be providing a solution to kind of basic needs, but the solution's really sexy.
Really
it's almost like your iPhone. You know,
that's really interesting that you say that.
But it's super cool. You know, it's a t-shirt, and he made a t-shirt sexy without you having to actually go and have like a wet t-shirt competition. You know, and it's, you know, you can introduce yourself to that flavour with the basics that form your wardrobe.
But it is that sensibility though, isn't it? It's really what he's injected into his brand, into his ethos. It's more about the sensibility. When you think of Wang, you don't think of one. I mean, obviously you think of a t-shirt, but you think of so many other sort of
it's a vibe more than
you think of the brand.
Yeah, you think of the sensibility of the brand. It's a lifestyle. You know, it's a young feeling, but then it's also very mature sort of brand. It's
and
sensual.
it's achievable. Like it's something that we feel like, you know, that girl that we want to be, or that guy that he kind of shows. It's like you could almost be that person. You could almost get away with that, and that's a really nice, satisfying feeling when you're looking at those clothes.
I'm interested that you said that. I was really interested as well when you said, you know, what did we do before that? Because I want to talk a little bit about how he has kind of revolutionised the way people are dressed, because we mentioned this kind of sport luxe thing, and for me that's something that he very much sort of not perhaps instigated, but really sort of propelled.
I think more, I would say it was more that I would go back to Michael Kors, but with Michael, and with them, there's, the luxe is the opulent word, and I mean those, you know, it's that look. You look at those ads, you think, oh, I just want to step into that, and I want to look like that, and I want to be like that, and the clothes really do speak volumes.
And with that effortless.
But I think what Alexander Wang, what he started to do was he brought that, I don't want to say to the street, but it was accessible, and it was okay. It didn't just mean that you had to look sort of uber polished. You could do the sport luxe mood, but in a cool way, in a trendy way, in your own diluted way, really. So I think it's giving it that little bit of accessibility, but with his younger flavour. You know, it's always you've got to move with the changes, and he's doing that. That's the next phase of it, and I think that's what makes it exciting. Because it's wonderful to watch.
Yeah, and I think, to be honest, so far he's kind of given us so many different messages. Like, he said that, you know, he can do the sort of really relaxed, uber confident, like kind of downtown New York woman. He can do the sports luxe woman, which we saw with, you know, the spring summer. He can do tailoring, which we saw with autumn winter. And it's like, it's actually really interesting to be where we are right now, because it's going to be really just interesting to see what he does next. You know, whether he goes back to those, or whether he takes it to another platform or another medium, whether he explores another fabric, because he seems to kind of explore neoprene and like cashmere. And,
well, especially at Balenciaga, I think a lot of people commented that it seemed like, you know, with that cracked leather. Yeah. What do you guys think?
Looking
of
into technology
and Balenciaga?
I think that I think that he's still been quite safe in the terms of. You know, he stayed true to the brand, and you know, he really wanted to kind of go back and follow Function of Crystal Ball's kind of original sort of concept of the brand. And I think, like, 2 seasons in, I think now moving forward, he's really going to be able to create his own message. I don't think he'll be afraid to kind of go in and put his own influence on the brand.
I think safe is okay with a house like that, or any of those houses. Because I think it's always important to try and reference something that the designer was the essence of the designer, instead of just walking in there and stamping on it and annihilating the whole essence of everything that it was. But I think what he also does with his brand is that, and I think what a lot of brands do now, is that they are ageless. You know, those concepts of, well, you dress like this in your 20s, this in your 30s, this in your 40s, etc. That seems to have gone. Fashion's wonderful. We've all changed the way we all, you know, look after ourselves, and health-wise and sport-wise and grooming-wise, and it's just wonderful that you are going to see the downtown street kid wearing his pieces, as well as you're going to see those sort of fabulous women uptown looking fantastic. And I think all brands, it's what Karl Lagerfeld does at Chanel. You know, everybody wants to wear Chanel. In your mind, there's the classic concept of the quilted bag, the tweed coat, whatever, but it's ageless.
Yeah, I agree, and it is, and like you said, it's that label that you can kind of dip in and out of. You don't feel like you need to be kind of head to toe
in a way as well.
No, exactly, and that's a really nice feeling.
It could end up being dull head to toe, weirdly enough.
I'm interested that you said
and unstyled.
It could end up just being a bit like, what have you done there?
That ageless comment you made, that interests me, because people often refer to it is a very young brand. You know, a lot of the press around the Balenciaga move was, you know, youthquake at Balenciaga. And I mean, I think his brand definitely does appeal to young people. Maybe this is a good question for you, Holly, actually. Garage, why do you find that there's such a kind of youth passion for, is it the way he uses online, you know, with his films? What is it? Why do young people like love Wang? Why do they identify with it?
I think it's because of his personality as well, because we kind of feel like we sort of know him a bit. And I think that definitely comes across. But I do think, because of this idea that we were talking about, that you can kind of dip in and out, that makes it ageless, because my mum wears Wang, you know, she's in her 60s.
And it's a nice piece to recommend. We get a lot of ladies writing into us, dressy, who want a little bit of an overhaul. It's a wonderful way to feel like you're just breking out of the basic classic mold.
But it doesn't feel exclusive to young people. It doesn't feel kind of weird to have that, I think.
Let's talk about how he's changed kind of ideas of luxury, because one thing, if you walk into Liberties or Selfridges, you know, you can just see sort of hundreds of these luxe t-shirt brands, you know, really beautiful basics. Do you think that's something that Wang instigated? I'm interested in his kind of business model, how he's changed the industry.
But I kind of don't
feel
think
like Rick Owens did it a bit before that, didn't he? You know, it kind of existed, but exactly.
But this is it. I think it was just more a focus.
Yeah.
He realigned the focus. Like these are the essentials that we should be focusing on in fashion. You know, if you can't afford, you know, your Dior's and you can't afford your Pradas of the world, like you can survive in the industry by just wearing a simple black t-shirt and jeans. And the fact that he still has kept to that sort of model, like every time you see him on the street or every time you see him in an interview, he's always sort of in, you know, a slouchy tee or a cashmere jumper with black jeans, kind of scruffy hair, fresh face. You know, it's just, he literally lives and breathes his brand, and it's like you can't find anything more genuine and sort of
but it's not just, we're not talking a £10 t-shirt.
No, well,
you know, we're not and if you look, it's, you know, we're not just, the price points are high, and he's got his diffusion range, which gives us that entry point, but he's not, you know, he's up there with the rest of them. It's not a 10 to 20
So how is it Sadeed feeling fashion? Because from what we've all said, it seems that what we love about him and part of his success has been very much about style, you know. But how has he kept that feeling of it being fashion and relevant and challenging?
I think it's really ready to wear.
Yeah.
He's ready to wear. You know, I mean, I would argue what you said about it being a diffusion. So, no, because
no,
you know what I remember.
Range, the T by
but T by Wang, he always says that he doesn't see it as a diffusion. He sees it more so as his sort of consistent vision of
his entry level,
just his entry level.
And I suppose filling the gaps in his collection.
Actually, you're right. That's a better way of saying
it. And I think
it isn't better.
Where he speaks to his audience or to his fashion audience is through his ready to wear, and like, you know, he really does experiment and sort of play around with different mediums of how we should interpret sportswear, how we should interpret tailoring, how we should interpret other. That's why I really think that it might be, I don't know, it might be that he experiments more with red carpet or something like, you know, something that's a little bit more kind of uber fine ready to wear, or maybe more so taking a couture route to this collection. I don't know. I just think that that's the only area that he hasn't really spoke about.
Totally. But it always stays very fashion, doesn't it? Because there's always a concept. There's a girl he's talking about there. He really is projecting something, the collection, so that it doesn't just stay like you know, online a shopping thing. It's not just that. It
would be nice to see him do a red carpet.
Yeah, I just think that
I think he does a good shape, so it would be really actually quite cool.
Wouldn't it?
And he uses nice texture. Balenciaga, different label, but still, it may have been simpler. But
so we're putting in a request for red carpet now.
Yeah, red. Actually, that would be great.
It would be really great.
Let's have a little look at a red carpet.
Let's talk, because the show looks like it's shortly going to start, but let's talk a little bit about the business side of how he's built his brand. I'm going to draw on your expertise a bit here.
Really?
And but about the way because this is something we were talking about yesterday with Jason Wu in our first panel. You know, Alex Wang, he's a young designer. He's not been around that long, but I wouldn't say, I don't mean this in a bad way, the aggression with which he's built his brand, you know, accessories very quickly, you know, it is a global brand. What model is he showing, and why aren't we seeing that from some of our London sides? Why aren't we seeing that from young designers? I
think let's not talk. I think you couldn't say it's a young designer thing, and you can't say it's a London designer thing. I think, and I don't want to use the word luck, but I think it's one of those inexplicable occurrences where suddenly you're looking around, and it's that younger culture that can set you off, because whether you like it or not, those girls and those guys are tweeting and Instagramming and Facebooking and Pinteresting, and that's where that whole everything gains so much momentum on those mediums. And whether, even irrespective of whether a designer is doing that, is who's wearing the product, and that's how it starts. I reckon that's where it all started. Suddenly you can use the word cool, but it's just you suddenly realise that, gosh, a lot of people are wearing this regularly, and I think he's obviously just got it right. And it's also his personality. You just see this person who sort of seems carefree and happy. It sounds ridiculous, but there's something that maps to the brand. So I would say, I think for the London design is very different. I don't think you can compare the two. There is a distinct difference in feeling of New York and London as there is with Paris. But that's why I say New York is actually quite exciting, because you always think of New York as these big, massive brands that are quite simple, quite, you know, I don't want to staid, but there's something exciting about them at the moment. They're making their mark and they're making the noise again.
How are they becoming so successful so quickly? I think that's
social media.
Do you think?
I mean, look at Michael Kors.
Or Proenza.
All of them. Social media. I think isn't Jason Wu one of the most followed on Instagram, if I'm correct? I might be wrong there, but there's one of them.
Proenza is incredibly successful.
And they're not posting pictures of clothes, they're posting pictures of, it's just the flavour of who they are.
I think it's an OT.
Michael Kors on, you know, Project Runway.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
There was a wonderful article recently, I found on Twitter, I don't know which one of the American newspapers it was in, but it was amazing to read because he said, again, those guys are just saying, you know what, just jump into what's happening out there. Social media is normal now. It's not something that you think, oh gosh, look what these kids are doing. It's normal. What may be kind of strange for someone like me who never had it 10 years ago, it's completely and utterly normal. It's a way, it's just another thing. It's like another pen and paper. So you've got to be doing that, but in your own way. So, you know, it makes a designer accessible.
Does it ever worry you about fashion though? I'd be interested that especially for a younger designer, especially if you're just starting out, that, you know, they're expected to be in their studio toiling away creating something really beautiful and wonderful, but there is that expectation from word go if they're showing on schedule or even off schedule, but where's your Twitter account, why aren't you Instagramming? Especially
free marketing, and it's not a worry, it's free. So think of this, it's a little whisper, and you can whisper it or you can shout it, and it's completely up to you which way you want to do it. But think of it, how do you get yourself known? You've got to go and spend a fortune on that runway show. You've got to like hopefully send someone half naked down the catwalk to get that front page of a newspaper just to get a name out there. But now you've got something that is completely free, and if you're clever with it, and it's still and true to yourself, and you're presenting yourself in a way that is you, it's what more could you ask for? It's a wonderful, wonderful.
I guess Henry Holland in London is a brilliant example of that.
Exactly, but you do have to think. You have to decide to think about it, don't
it's
you?
Not just
it doesn't come naturally to be like, I should Instagram this. I mean, it does now, I suppose, to a lot of people, but
to think that like Christopher Kane doesn't like have a website.
I was going to mention Christopher Kane.
Up until this point, Christopher Kane doesn't have a website. Like you Google him, and the first thing that comes up is Net-a-Porter, you know, and it's kind of like, it just makes you think, does it need to work? Well, not really.
But actually,
at the same time, you can still build. I mean, it just shows you that no story is the same.
If you can find, so he was sort of riding that, he got onto his wave before we all had to start worrying about Instagram and Twitter. And it's not a worry, it's just that if you can find a way, it's a free, it's like, instead of you're paying for your ad in Vogue and you're paying for your ad billboards, this is another extension to it.
Totally, but maybe can we tell when someone's not doing it like
just
when it's
nobody follows it.
Well, exactly. So
it's weird that you think of who do you follow on Twitter and why.
Well, it's like Mary Transo on Facebook.
Yeah,
she's got tons and tons of likes, and no one can quite pin down why. But it is, if you look at the content, it's really fun, and but it's thought you don't.
You have to. The person has to care about it for people to be interested, don't they?
It's really interesting.
And
you can't really quite. We're still learning, and you can't sit down and say, "Oh, well, actually, flowers work quite well as do cupcakes."
But it's interesting that it's actually some of the younger brands. You know, we mentioned Proenza and we mentioned Alex Wang, but also over here, you know, you've got Henry Holland. It's not. I know everyone goes to Burberry as digital, but it seems to be some of the younger people who are taking a strategy in their own way, like Proenza, who are doing something really interesting.
Normal for them. It's absolutely.
They've grown up with it.
You guys have grown up with it. You know, you are.
Is that something the more established brands then are going to struggle with, because the strategy doesn't feel as effortless?
Do you follow Stefano Gabbana on
Yes.
Instagram? He's fantastic.
Yeah.
And you suddenly, I love his dogs. It's got nothing. The dogs are gorgeous. Those Labradors. No, but his dogs are beautiful. And then I love the ladies who are swimming, and the Italian Riviera lady had these two huge old ladies. It was wonderful, and you start to think, and the lemons and the cobblestone. You start to see the collections slowly. You get into it. I mean, they look like they're having fun permanently. Yeah. And I don't mind how many shots of the sea I get, but the dogs are great. I'd like.
So would you rather see more about the designers' lives? Maybe that's what I'm asking. Because sometimes when I worry about social media, I think I'm
not asking to see
making fashion the whole culture.
Yeah, I don't want to see. I'm seeing the product. I don't. You know. It's not about that. It's just having a little sneak beyond.
I think it depends on the brand, because you know it's like everything, like you said, in pop culture. You know, when you look at, even from a music perspective, when you look at like an artist, for example, I mean, even when you look at two sisters, someone like Beyonce, who's only of late started to have a following on Instagram and Twitter and all those sort of things, where she would kind of refuse that previously. Whereas you look at Solange, and she's kind of got a massive sort of internet following, and you know her being affiliated with fashion and the industry. It's a massive following. And then you look at a designer like Christopher Kane, and it's like you almost with Beyonce, you want to know more about her, and you don't, and you love that you don't know anything. And it's the same with Christopher Kane. Like, I feel like I almost want to have a website to see. I want to see behind the scenes. I want to see him backstage at his shows.
Because are we tired of the celebrity designer? I guess that's what I worry about with social media. Is it going to sort of recreate this idea of the designer as this kind of great feudal overlord that everyone in their gilded cage?
They've been wonderful feudal overlords. Look at what they give us. beautiful gifts of fashion. I think they've always been celebrities. You know, you've got that picture of Valentino back in Italy again, walking, where was he, somewhere in the Amalfi Coast with Jackie O in a sort of little leather sand. They've always been celebrities. It's just now
they can do it a lot quicker.
They can do
it themselves, I guess.
Yeah. I think it would be terrible to have them as a celebrity and then you think, okay, you're great and you're funny, but I don't really like you. You're not really doing anything with your brand. I think with the more established designer, you think obviously the doors were always closed there, and then now you think, wow. With someone like Alexander Wang, I guess it's just a way of, it's normal. It's just, it probably doesn't think, I don't know, I have to ask
I think back
twice
to what
about
you
it.
said about you know, when the fact that he's so young, and just the fact that no stories are the same, like the fact that he was able to bring together with his brand such an amazing pairing of Carl Templar and himself, like at such a young age. Like, I think that it comes down to having a great foundation, and you know, the fact that within his story that, you know, his brother is like his financial director and his sister's worked in production before. It's just a completely unique situation, and
it's
I think
a good business story.
And I think that that's what happens, you know, in everyone's careers when you look at certain people's careers, and I think that that's what makes the industry so interesting. You know, when you follow someone like Edward Enninful's career and how he kind of came into the industry, and you look at all of these things.
Jason Wu making his dolls.
I just think that's what makes it. I mean, even Cocoon, and like it's what makes it so special. And I think that everyone's story is completely.
Actually, they're lucky. Not lucky. To have a good business basis you couldn't wish, probably layered on top of the creativity. You couldn't wish for more. I think that really is a great. You can't knock the fact that you have to have somebody on your team looking after. I think his
business strategy has been incredibly shrewd and well thought out. I think that's what I find so exciting actually about what he does, is how he does manage to sort of keep this sense of creativity and vibrancy, and you see, as we mentioned, those cool girls, those models who love his stuff out and about, and it feels really fashion, but then there is a real sort of business acumen to what he's doing.
You know, those models out and about are another huge mass medium. So we had our fabulous supermodels, which were so used to the whole phenomenon, the glamour and the glory, and they would put their stamps on brands. And actually now, again, on Instagram and Twitter, if you follow Derek Blasberg, he's always got the girls. They're all of the top, and they're all looking amazing. And they'll go they'll do the full brand if they're at an event. And actually, that's another that he's got them in there. You get that support. Designers get that support. It's huge.
It's almost more important now, isn't it, than an advertising campaign, is seeing those girls in the clothes, seeing it on Instagram. I think it'd be interesting to see young designers move forward.
I mean, when we do a sort of get the model look, okay, so I guess some of our customers we're talking more sort of 30 plus, they absolutely love, you know, you can do Cindy Crawford in her jeans, and it's
Elle McPherson at the school gates.
No, it's amazing, because if someone has the same jumper or the same scarf, there's this association that, there is something glamorous about it.
Is that what encourages people to, would you find that at Garage as well? Is that actually what encourages people to buy now, would you say?
I don't know whether they buy, look at the response. It's just that association, and it's not her walking down the catwalk in a red carpet dress. It's all the jeans and the flat pumps and the beautiful tailored jacket and the what have you. And somebody will go, that's, I can do that, or I love that, or I do it. And I think so. And celebrity is a bad word to use, but it just seems to cover everything for us that we need. It describes everyone.
I guess his never. I mentioned, maybe you disagree. I feel like his never feels placed there because it's the same girls that walk in his show and then they're wearing it on the street, you know, a couple of weeks later, and it feels like,
I love it.
You know, his work with Erin that he's done. It seems very natural, and
it doesn't feel forced, does it?
It
feels like they're wearing it because they want to.
Interesting. Let's talk a little bit, because this set looks amazing, and I do, just before the show starts, I want to talk a little bit about the way he does his shows, because obviously last season was incredibly theatrical in a sense. Now, Cobbie, you've worked on certain shows before, you know, you've helped out on on various brands. You've done McQueen. Like, you know, what makes a great show? You mentioned his music when you were talking to me before you went live. Yeah.
I think another thing is what I find quite interesting about him. He doesn't really give much away. Like with his shows, obviously, again, it's all in keeping with the brand and the aesthetic of his sensibility, which is what we were talking about earlier. But like, there's always an element of raw, and you know, I mean, I wonder. I'm trying to think what the bars mean. You know, it's almost like a climbing frame. I don't know what that would.
It looks like the sculpture that's outside the
serpentine, doesn't it?
And that would
looks
be
exactly
red,
like
that would be very red carpet, and that would be very luxe, and that would be very sort of, you know. So I'm going for the red carpet thing.
Yeah.
But I don't know.
Really gunning for that.
Maybe you know something you're not telling us.
Yeah.
No, I don't.
Go on.
I don't. I wish I did. I think that his team is incredible, and I think that like, you know, having someone like Carl involved in his project is incredible.
Incredible.
You know,
That is pretty cool.
To kind of have constantly with you, and obviously their casting is always impeccable.
And this stream as well, the live stream itself is absolutely beautiful. Like, we're seeing,
fascinating, isn't it?
Yeah, well, we're seeing close-ups of the celebrities that are coming in. We're seeing like it's this whole production is incredibly done.
And you know what? This is just like, it actually shows the kind of tribe thing as well, because they're all. They all look like they've been styled by him in a way.
It's a secret association, isn't
Yeah.
it? Like,
Yeah.
It really is a tribe.
So when we do this next season, we'll be styled by him.
Yeah, we'll be. Is the show still important? Maybe this is interesting for Garage. Do you find people are excited by the show as a thing still? Because I
don't know, actually. I think for us in the industry, it is. It's the first look of everything. It's you know, right now for us, this is such an exciting time because this starts our conversations about concepting ideas for the next issue, where these inspirations come from. Those are the conversations we have, and building that into a project, and that's such an exciting time for us. I think I'm not sure for if I didn't work at Garage whether I would be. I just don't know.
Do you think
I think
fashion's more accessible? Do you think it's because people can see it all the time now? You know, there's not that exclusivity. It's made the show less of a.
Yeah, it's made it less of absolutely less of a spectacle, and I think you know, my friends who aren't in the industry and still very interested are more excited to see it in its kind of advertising form, almost like how is that shown as a
or amazing editorial, like
exactly, and then how it's taken on by other people. I think that.
But the thing is, no, I just want nothing beats that fabulous thrill of a show when you're sitting wherever you're sitting, if it's under a pot plant at the back or front row, whatever the case may be. And there's a sense of anticipation. Sometimes you're a bit tired, you've been running around for 4 weeks. You know, nothing beats that. And I wonder if they do get. I know I used to. After a while, it's exhausting, but it's so much fun, and it's still, especially if you go to the couture shows, you're like, oh, you're watching moving art, but you still wonder, is it because we expect it as part of what we do? Whereas if somebody hadn't been to one before and then went to get that whole flavour of it all, they'd say the same thing. It always makes me laugh when people sell tickets for London Fashion Week through concierge services, and it's 150. Like, what? But then I understand that if you've never been,
there's something so exciting about
so this gives it a. I mean, he does do a great live
there's
stream.
so many moments that like pass you by just in one show alone, you know, and like, you know, there's so many things that come together. Like I remember like years ago, like, interning like at like PRs and I remember more specifically being at one of Christopher's first shows and so many I think it was the Flintstone collection, and it was like so many moments were passing me by. I think, you know, Laura Stone was going out, and she was going out, she wasn't walking, I don't think she came first, but you know, like seeing all of these people here and like seeing all the people that were in the room, and then like, you know, going on a few years later on in their careers, seeing that, you know, she's like the #1 girl, you know, all these people passing you by, like, you know, you never know who you're sitting next to, that sort of feeling of, you know, you don't know what's going on in the room, anything could happen in the room, even just like looking at McQueen shows in the past and wishing that you could have been there, you know, to just experience that energy in the room. And even, you know, with him in Spring Summer, like the glow in the dark moment when, you know, the screen just, everything just went black, and then all of a sudden everything's glowing in the dark. Like,
It is that sense. You bring up McQueen. So I remember going to those ones that we had all the butterflies in the glass cage. You never know what's going to come out. Or the one where he spray painted the dresses, or the Hussein Chalayan one where the dress, the table,
table skirt.
And you don't know that at 12 o'clock at night, because in those days in London everything used to run quite late, which is part of the fun. Or the Julie McDonald one, when the Spice Girls sort of started singing on stage, but you know, you just don't know what's going to happen. Even in the most simplest of shows, because invariably there's something happening in the front row, and then also, I mean, I used to work at the Daily Mail, so of course if I didn't know who was in the front row, I'd get into a lot of trouble, and you couldn't check on your phone quickly or on the internet or anyway, so you really had to try and get everything, but it is impossible to get everything.
I guess we're more cynical now, like with that glow-in-the-dark moment, you know, a lot of people were like, oh, it's a collection built for Instagram, everyone loves it, and it got shared so much, but if you think McQueen was doing collections built for Instagram before Instagram was around, so maybe we are just a bit cynical about...
I think there are always going to be those glow-in-the-dark moments, and that's what's great about it. I think the bad thing with social media is that it's impossible to go to a show and just skate or just actually watch the damn thing. You're worrying so much, like I haven't broadcast whatever I think on every medium I'm supposed to be doing, and I'm sure everyone in all, I don't know how the magazines will work, but you have to do it. So I suppose you then actually miss quite a lot. It's quite demanding. I think it's very demanding on what is expected from a journalist or a fashion editor now when they go to the shows.
It's not.
I think it's a lot more. It's not just about trying to set the next themes, the next trends, understand what's happening. There's a hell of a lot more expected from people. You need about 2 more of you next.
But there's more expected from designers as well. Even just streaming and tweeting and giving us backstage content. Like I mentioned it actually in yesterday's panel as well, but Eric Wilson wrote a really good piece in the New York Times. It was yesterday.
Aaron Wilson did.
Yeah, about New York Fashion Week and sort of the future of it. And the point that he was making, it was, you know, there are so many designers to see. Everyone's exhausted. The designers don't like the tents they're showing, and he referenced a comment that Diane von Furstenberg made at the CDFA's meeting, where she said, you know, who knows if we'll even be showing in 10 years. And it was he was insinuating, will designers start showing digitally? And it did get me wondering, you know, if we're all there in the front row tweeting rather than watching the clothes, and the designers are streaming anyway, do you think we are going to see a move? Because the production of this live stream is absolutely incredible. You know, is this going to be all we're going to get, whether you're a kid studying fashion or whether you're us?
So there was another good article, love Twitter, but basically they were saying it costs quite a lot of money to have a live stream running, and you have to actually, it's now not just about saying I have a live stream, and in fact McQueen was one of the first ones to do it. They just did it for one of the collections, and that was it, ages ago. So you can't just live stream. You've got to be off. You've got to get a bit more. Did you? You got to get a bit more out of it. I don't know. You guys did it.
Oh, that show.
You've got to get more out of it.
That show was sick.
You see, you did it once, and you said done. Sick. But been there, done that. But you've got to now, because it costs so much money, you've got to get something else out of it. So then you have Burberry doing. You can order it now, or Topshop did the. Where get you can everyone to watch, so that you can start to look at the data and say, oh, what should we be selling? So that's cool, that's clever. So
that was incredibly clever.
It's another way of doing,
as they came out.
And it's not about what the fashion editor is going to be doing, it's about what the consumer thinks they
that takes us all out. That's why I wonder if brands will start showing digitally, because I think, you know, with Topshop you could like looks as they're coming down the catwalk.
But you can't really see the clothes. But you know when you're sitting there, when you see that movement of the fabric,
but who needs to see it? You think if Topshop can see what their consumer wants, why does it matter if the fashion editor likes it? Because the consumer
is only seeing what they want. They're only seeing those 20 looks coming down the catwalk. Those 20 looks are not going to cover an entire spring-summer season of the other 500,000 garments that hit the stores every week or 2 weeks if we're doing the high street. So, and does the consumer always know what they want? Sometimes there are things that they don't know what they want.
Best? That's a big question.
So they do, but sometimes there are things that they don't know they want. Like the Alexander Wang t-shirt with a bit of a twist, because they thought maybe it didn't flatter them, but then they understand that actually it does flatter them, and I will spend.
And you're totally right, it's kind of blurry to who this is all for now.
Yeah, I think so, sure. Looks like it's going to... Can I have some more champagne? Is that okay? Sorry.
On that note, I'll have a sip of mine.
Well, if it's going to start, I'll just... a bit thirsty. Thank you, hon. Are we excited for this?
Very excited.
That's not a question I always ask on the panels, but there are some shows that we sit and we're doing a panel for, and they're an impressive brand and it's an exciting brand, but I don't think people are excited to see the fashion. But are we excited to see the fashion? I'm excited.
I like, as I say, for me, he's the next wave. Yeah.
Sorry.
You know, he's showing how the next wave does it, and it's wonderful to see. So yes, I am excited.
Thank you.
And then you also sit there thinking, well, what's he going to do at Balenciaga? You know,
yeah.
It's great.
Already thinking, what next?
Yeah, I know.
This is stuff.
So many questions, enough
You're so excited, Cobbie.
I'm so excited. I'm trying to contain myself.
spring summer.
Why do you love him so much?
Do you know what? I don't know what it is. I just think amongst my friends, like he just seems to be one, as well as Rick, obviously, that we just seem to just gravitate towards.
You see there, you're the
it's
guy
just
that made him.
that sort of easy, sort of wearable pieces that you can kind of. I mean, you could get away with wearing it. I know it sounds grubby, but you could get away with wearing the same thing all week, and no one would even know. But then you could also wear 7 of the similar sort of things.
And like you said, who doesn't want to wear like a scrumpled t-shirt like he does? Like everyone wants to look like that in something that you've been wearing for 4 days.
Exactly.
Sometimes you want to feel like you're wearing something nice, but you don't necessarily want to be screaming with what you're wearing.
Well, that's why I'm interested in how he's changed luxury, because it is kind of people. It's almost like anti-luxury. People don't want to look like they've tried, and he captures that really well.
So I think one of the hardest looks for the consumer, when I looking at on Dress Blue, and I look at it, one of the hardest looks to get, where you look great, is that casual look. So we call it. So you're not in the office, you're not on the red carpet. It's like in between. I'm tired. You know, women are writing, and they're tired of just chucking on a pair of jeans and they're slumpy jumpers. So this is what he's offering.
When wealth whispers.
It's actually most of how you're living every day. You know,
Exactly, but
and
it's
you
how
don't
you
want to
said
look scruffy.
it's not a £20 t-shirt, you know,
No.
and that's kind of how he's doing it, because it is draped beautifully.
But it is going to last. It's
really
exactly.
great quality fabric.
And then suddenly your jeans and t-shirt look is actually looking great.
Yeah.
And you're feeling great, and that's all that you want.
And I think, you know, it's important to remember that, like you said, you know, there are other people that have been doing this for years upon years upon years, and it's just about picking up in different aspects. Like, you know, obviously Marcello was doing sort of more like shirting and jeans, and then obviously you have your Helmut Lang, who is kind of in that sort of dark sphere of things as well. But I just think that the way that he does it, obviously his focus has been so precise, and even when you were saying, you know, when you was asking, is it worrying for a designer to be starting out so young, I think that it's really important that people know that his message was so clear from such a young age. And you know, I was reading an interview that he did on Interview magazine like ages ago, and I remember Diane from Fustenberg asking him to like design some stuff for
and he refused.
and he said no. Like this is a 20-year-old guy. Like he was like, no, I'm doing my collection. Like, I don't have
my
time.
cashmere jumpers.
And that is so inspiring for
And you
even
sit up and
other young
listen.
designers, like other youth who are like kind of at Parsons or at St Martin's, to read and be like, do you know what, if I believe that I can do something on my own, I'm just going to do it, and I don't want any help, and I just want to kind of focus on that. And I think it's really important to kind of give that message.
And with that in mind, it's kind of interesting to think, obviously he's so young and started so young, like, will it kind of keep that message? Will he stay with that aesthetic? I don't know. When he's 35, 40, will it still have that feeling? I guess that's what's nice about
seeing him at Balenciaga as well, because you always feel like he's got his own brand he can play around with a bit more, you know, when you've got that, like obviously Balenciaga, it's not a safety net, it's a huge stress, but it's sometimes nice to see a young designer, like we were talking about this yesterday with Jason Wu, with Hugo Boss. It's nice to see someone have that flexibility now where their own label becomes something that they can, you know, McQueen Givenchy is a really nice example of that, where his own label became his baby even more than it already was. And I think that's what's really nice about Alexander Wang. It looks like it's actually going to start now.
Oh.
Pretty excited.
Yes, music.
Thought that was us.
Pray the stream doesn't crash because too many people are watching it. Let's just pray that.
Yeah, there you have it.
God, it's a really good stream, isn't it?
This is a good one. You feel like you're there. That's cute.
This song reminds me of being at school.
It's so like funny. It's like just quite a girly one.
Again, but it's girly. Cool.
Yeah, those little skirts from the resort.
Yeah,
those little flippy skirts.
Yes. What I like about it is because, you know, last season always felt
so feminine.
Yeah, so
very
feminine.
girly.
It's so feminine.
And I like some of the funny references, like a mini kilt, you know, it's almost really trashy. But
Yeah.
Even like the
shoes are
punk
quite,
sort of Ruffle Creeper shoes. Oh, no, they're not. They're more like Mary Jane's, aren't they?
They're Mary Jane's and little baby dolls.
It's very, we were saying
quite sexy.
Yeah, really sexy. We were saying how 90s Jason Wu, wasn't it?
Yes.
There's something quite 90s about
Oh,
the mini
totally.
kilt, the spaghetti stuff.
But his whole ethos of his brand is very 90s.
But this is 90s in a different way. It's kind of that like clueless 90s.
Yeah.
Like the pastels, like a bad pastel shoe.
Oh, I love it.
Good bags.
First look was so strong.
This feels different as well, would you guys agree?
Yeah,
Were
I was
you
just going to say not a t-shirt inside.
Yeah, very different.
But he's
Do you know
still
what
got
I
that
immediately
square
think?
top structure like he did for autumn winter. You know that the volume up here.
Kind of oversized, but not in a kind of classic way.
I immediately think back to, I don't know if this is really bad, but I think back to Nicolas Gasquier's last collection for
Balenciaga, yeah.
The military stuff.
You know, the sort of...
Cute.
The way things
ruching,
were
because
crossed.
it was really spaghetti
Yeah.
strap sort
Yeah,
of...
totally.
Lots of
the
crop
pastels as well,
Yeah.
and the tailoring, but it was that sort of... it was
There
this
was
sort of
lots of
colour palette.
the grey and and the pastels and the...
He'd hate me for saying that, but...
I'm interested in this kind of midriff thing we're seeing. I mean,
Yeah.
this kind of the new areas of their body that women like showing off. You know, backs, ankles, midriffs,
midriff,
collarbones.
Yeah, but is it women who like showing it off, or... I mean, I don't know.
But this doesn't feel like it's for a guy. You know, like
No.
That top is.
Epic.
yeah,
That's
maybe.
nice.
It's very 90s. That's what I'm really struck by that. Like in a completely different way to what I'd associate his 90s with. Do you want to wear this? Are you shopping?
I
'Cause
really
you said
am
you shop
shopping,
when you
yeah.
watch
This
this.
is,
Yeah,
so
I love
this
it.
is very easy to wear. Like I can see
This
all the
is
editors
nice. The
just
little
Yeah,
shorts
yeah,
and
yeah,
jacket.
yeah.
living in it. Like it looks so professional, so slick, but so like not.
It just feels very current as well.
cute.
Like I wouldn't say it's borrowing from anyone, but it does feel like, you know, the shoes, we've seen that style, it's a popular
Yeah.
style, people like it, you know.
Which looks nice.
Yeah. I like her new hair, Edie.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's a bit JW Anderson, that one, but
Very,
we'll let that
very
go. Does actually feel a bit JW Anderson as well, that's one thing. But that's...
This is good. I like his shorts with the draping.
It's funny that you mentioned JW because there's another contender that I thought would be up for the running for Balenciaga.
Really?
Yeah,
Did you?
I did. For some
Really?
reason, I don't know why. I just felt that it was kind
No,
of
I
between
didn't.
those two. I don't know why.
I think these
Oh,
are
that's
nice.
nice.
This knitwear.
Really.
Yeah,
Yeah.
They look like knitted
yeah.
shorts.
But this is what
Yeah.
we're saying for
Oh,
shoppers
look,
of all
very
ages.
nice.
Yeah.
What does
Very
it say?
90s, parental advisory.
It feels
That's
very young,
cute.
but that knit that we
The
just
knit
saw, that
is-
could
and
be
that
for
colour,
someone,
yeah.
like my mum would wear that.
Yeah,
you know.
yeah.
I love that these are
Exactly.
like guys'
Boxy
boxers.
shorts,
Yeah.
yeah, so nice.
It's like a new
Very,
take on the
very
pyjamas
90s.
trend.
Yeah, exactly.
But
It is
then-
very naked though, the
cute.
backs are open, you know,
But everything's open.
Again, it's like a female take on like a Mark Wahlberg, you know, like his
Yeah,
those
the
like
good
baggy
boy.
boxers, but then
Yeah.
he used to wear those sort of the Calvin Klein t-shirts that would finish
Yeah.
just above the midriff, but
Yeah.
how a girl would wear it.
I'm
Oh,
kind of
totally
taking back
not.
my comment that it's not for guys. This does feel like kind of made for a guy's fantasy. This like girls in their boxers and stuff.
And you're right in
Yeah.
that kind of 90s reference, like the little skirts, but then like maybe a girl who's like borrowed a top and like cut it off or whatever. It's like,
It feels. I like the.
But
street
actually, you
reference
look at
as
it and
well.
you know that it's him.
Yeah, for sure.
You know, you.
But that's. Would
think
you
it's
say
an-
that's impressive? Because it does feel different. But
think
how
it's
do we
very-
still know it's him? What are the codes that mean we know that it's Wang?
I think he's sort of that square cut, that cutaway, asymmetric, half asymmetric top.
Does that say
His
wow,
colour
wow,
palette.
That's the
Yeah.
first time he's actually put the logo in.
branded, yeah.
And the T-shirt, I think it
That's
says parent
interesting.
advisory,
Parental
which is
advisory.
like those posters
Yeah,
everyone
yeah.
had in the 90s.
Well, it's what you get on like explicit CDs.
CD,
isn't it?
yeah. Everyone had them on their
Obviously.
bedroom
Well,
doors.
she's not
Yeah,
wearing it,
yeah,
yeah.
exactly. Like, bring that
And
awful
you know
memory.
that he has a massive following of obviously hip hop culture, and it's just interesting to see.
Yeah.
If he sounds
And
A
you
lot
were
of
saying that
shorts
before,
and they're
he was-
pretty cool.
Andrew, who's
We were
doing
talking about the
video
layering, weren't we?
Yeah.
This is definitely not
no, it's
No.
not
layered.
This
at
is
all.
all
It's
stripped
fully
back.
pared back.
It's completely stripped
that's
back.
amazing.
Yeah, Andrew, before he's doing the vision mixing, he was saying he can't think of Alexander Wang without hearing like a hip hop artist say his
Yeah,
name,
yeah.
and I think
Yeah,
that's
yeah.
really true.
I
you
was
know,
thinking about that
Works
just
with these
today.
pieces.
But
You
then
kinda
I
work-
can
you
see
can
these
see-
pieces on like on your
Look at
Kirsten
those short-
dances of
Yeah.
you know of the world.
It's not red carpet though.
No, it's
Not yet.
I'm really
Waiting.
excited by it. I'm like up in my chair. I think it's amazing. It's
Yeah,
really
it's really
beautiful.
cool.
And I love the fabrics as well.
Like I
Like,
said,
this looks
I
incredible.
always
Yeah.
seem to love his. Oh, he's done a windbreaker again. I love his spring summer shows. I think that they're always really, really fun. Really feminine as well. Like
The tailoring is still really strong. Though. Those
Yeah.
trousers, you know, the kind of Oxford bag type trousers.
the
were
shoes
absolutely
look
beautiful.
really good as well. They
So we're giving this a thumbs up. I know it hasn't finished yet, so maybe that's...
Yeah, we're gushing.
Yeah.
I mean, the gloves look like glamorous marigolds, but that's cool.
She looks great.
Those are cute.
That looks great.
She looks too thin. She needs to...
Did you say she needs to eat?
She just looks too thin. All the other models look really healthy. She looks too thin.
She is thin, but it looks cool. I could see that on a curvy girl as well as a thing.
Yeah.
And that's what it's about. It's about seeing beyond what you're actually seeing, and you know, you can see these pieces on other people.
Yeah,
and you're right, because it's that bit of midriff, isn't it? It's like that's
the
really
flattering.
but
you see it older.
You could go and you could be a curvy girl and you could wear it and it wouldn't show.
Yeah.
It's flattering.
But something like that little white dress that we've just seen come through and some of the knits, I think it's styled to feel very youthful, very sexy and quite kind of in your face
because
sexy,
you can put
you could style this
one of his t-shirts with the high-waisted trousers and you're okay. Or any of the shorts.
Seeing some of the dresses coming through now.
They're not very carpet yet.
That is like Clueless, that look.
Yeah.
That makes me so happy.
With the braces too.
What I like about this is we all seem really, really excited, and we watched the Jason Wu show yesterday and we were impressed by what he was doing, we were excited by what's happening with his label and his brand, but none of us were kind of up in our seats waiting for the next look.
No, because you look at it, that was designed for the boys.
Yeah, that
Maybe you got that top.
Yeah, that's quite fetishy with two of them.
What is that fabric? That white
looks like
stuff? That looks
Yeah,
amazing.
it looks like plastic.
Do you know it looks like those plastic shopping bags, but it's obviously not. It looks like, but it's knitted. He's woven with that.
Oh wow, he's proper like put logoing.
What do you think of that? I was thinking a lot about branding because a lot of the young designers, especially for the menswear, last season did that. You know, you heard Christopher Shannon, Sean Samson, you know, Samson everywhere. Like even.
I mean, he's not an immediate brand that I think of. Branding.
But branding really seems to be coming back, and this idea like logo mania
and all the slogan T-shirts.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Well, you know those like Celine Me Alone and that kind of thing.
I think the nice thing with his you're not expecting it from him. You don't know what it is, so it's not immediately. You're not going to look at it and think, oh, there goes another Wang brand.
But it kind of contradicts what we were saying.
It looks like a
it's
pattern.
about dressing down and being easy, but to have logos everywhere, that's kind of the opposite of that.
I mean, it's quite intelligent the way he's done it.
Yeah, and I do think it kind of confirms this idea that you want to be associated with certain brands. I think that is coming back. You know, people do want to be seen to be part of that tribe or the other, and this I guess maybe it's kind of a joke about that. You know.
Yeah.
And I think it's a confidence. To me, this is a real stamp of I am a brand.
And I think it's a nice separation from what he's doing at Balenciaga as well. I think that it's important for him to kind of say, look, this is my young brand, I'm having fun with it, you know, it's me, and it's an extension of who I am as a person and what I listen to and what I'm influenced by. And then obviously it'll be interesting to see what he does at Balenciaga as well.
Why do logos in general feel quite now though, do you think? Is it that tribes thing? Is it the fact that people want some more for their money, they want a logo if they're shelling out?
I think it is that influence of 90s coming back.
And it's also a little bit it's a bit sort of witty and it's funny.
Because it's a new type of brand.
Yeah.
And things that, you know, when I was at school and things that were, you know, logos were naff, the kids at school that, you know, had the Moschino jeans and all of that kind of stuff, they were naff, but actually now we're not embarrassed anymore. We've kind of grown up and we're like, no, that's kind of fine. And
they're quite
cool
flash,
again.
but they work. So it's sort of saying, I actually know it's flash, but this is fantastic.
Yeah, exactly. It is that confidence.
So do we dress with irony now, do you think? Do you think that's what?
Yeah.
But it looks quite cute.
What do you do when you're watching a show? Are you kind of dressing people? Are you like, oh, this would be great on this person?
I mean,
or
it's a
whatever?
bit of both, really. It's just about kind of coming up with what you're trying to say with each piece, you know. And like, I think that he's got loads of different messages with his collection already. There's that sort of clean woman. There's that sort of a lot more fun, relaxed girl. There's so many things. I'm just trying to.
Erin looks amazing.
Yes, always last. Amazing.
I'd love to know what that fabric is.
It looks like that looks like leather. That
does.
does.
Sweat
does
leather,
look like
that
leather.
plastic
And is
leather.
that denim? All of that like
that denim
over,
with the overall type thing.
Overstitching,
Some of them were leather, some of them were denim.
Really cool.
Nice coat.
The pink seems to be coming through a lot as well, like a pastel-y sort of pink.
It's
kind of
nice
that
when he
thick
does
It's a
colour.
bubblegummy pink.
What's that stuff that you drink when you're sick?
Oh, yes.
Medicine. That's
Pepto-Bismol.
Pepto-Bismol.
Yeah, Pepto-Bismol pink.
Might as well
Yeah.
Calpol.
Bubblegum.
Yeah,
Pepto-Bismol.
exactly.
Pepto-Bismol.
Pepto-Bismol, yeah.
But it's nice when I know he's known for his black, but occasionally when he does do a colour, it's really exciting to see him kind of play with that. I think something like a pink, it's quite unexpected,
Yeah.
What do we think of the whole show production? I love how this has worked. I think
this is structure.
Because it kind of looks like a playground now, doesn't it? With all of the lines. Yeah.
He's just trying to maybe say that he's having fun.
Yeah.
But I just think the collection, it wasn't soft, we didn't,
there's no, it's,
which is interesting because you mentioned that Balenciaga collection, which was it was a curvy collection, the ruffles and everything, but there is a definite same sensibility, but it feels much harder in this context, I think.
Yeah. Really cool.
This stream is beautiful as well.
Yeah,
it's being all digital online, but it's beautiful.
No, it's really well put together, isn't it?
I feel like we didn't miss anything.
No.
I love the
and it was
it
was done from nice angles.
I
really like that little skirt
jacket. The first look was
and that baby doll.
That little dress, the grey dress, is so cute.
So what are the standout pieces, do you think? I think those boxer shorts
the
are going to get
boxers, definitely. The shoes
and the little flippy skirts and those baby. And those, the knitwear was cute.
And I think that's another thing that we kind of like to kind of think that we know about Wang as well. He really cares about his customers and the feedback. And I know a lot of people personally, obviously last spring, summer, he had those shoes that were like kind of amazing, the white ones with the sort of line that went around. A lot of people said that they were really uncomfortable to wear. Uncomfortable, and they were quite narrow.
Because when you sit down,
they were quite narrow, and I feel like these shoes look like they're going to be a lot more
really
comfortable.
And
so it's just nice to know that he's even considered that already.
I love this shape as well, this really high...
I really like that.
Well, that's the weird thing. He's gone from like completely revealing to completely covered up and boxy. It's got fireworks.
Yeah, I know, that's quite a good comment on the collection. We've got fireworks from Knightsbridge in celebration of Alexander Wang. So if we have to sum this collection up in sentences, we've been saying 90s, we've been saying sexy.
There's something in this that's reminding me of a Miu Miu collection and a Prada collection, and I don't know which one it is.
I think it's the shoes.
I don't know where it is. I know, but it's the boxiness and the flippiness, which is cool.
I love this.
There's his army.
I'm actually kind of wearing the shoes already.
You are,
they're a Prada shoe.
And and like you said, it's a formula that works.
But it feels relevant. I think that's what he does. It always feels like it's on point of what we're seeing. These little looks at the end are actually really cute. They're kind of dungareesy type. I want to give him a clap when he comes out.
Oh, it's like first day at school.
He does this running out.
He's so sweet.
He's so sweet.
Okay.
So what are our takeaways? What is this saying about what's going on in fashion at the moment? What is this saying about what's going on with Alexander Wang at the moment?
I think it's cute, it's fun, it's cheeky, it's very young. But actually it's his army, as you called an army earlier.
Right,
But you said about concept before, which I thought you said it always feels fashion because there's a concept, and there was definitely a concept here, wasn't there?
There was definitely a concept. I think that's, for me, that just reminds me of the girl at school that I was always jealous of, who was like wearing something that was like
rolled her skirt up a little bit shorter.
Who was wearing stuff that wasn't that well fitting either. Like nothing fit her that well. She's probably wearing shoes that were like 2 sizes too big and like clumping around, but you wanted to be her. And I just think he does that so well.
And that wasn't remotely polished, was it either? Which I really liked. It felt quite gritty. It didn't look like it was designed to fit. And I love the shape of things. It wasn't about kind of being.
But I think his fabrics were quite slick.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was going to say like the edges were really sharp, and it just reminds me of it. Like again, taking it back to kind of school and that girl that is just the coolest one. She listens to great music.
Yeah.
You know, she wears like the short skirts, but she never really gets in trouble, which would be a reference to the pink.
Yeah.
And it keeping it sweet. The hair was quite feminine, and it was kind of away from the face, and quite blonde, and quite kind of a girl that gets her own way, but at the same time she can be quite polished with the shirt, and she can be quite formal and structured. And you know, the Mary Jane shoe is it was quite modest. There was no open toe shoes, which obviously we saw last season.
But parental guidance would definitely be needed for some of those people.
Yeah.
Well, this is it, because she's naughty, and he doesn't want to shy away from that, does he?
So what does this say about his development? For me, that was confidence, that collection. I mean, that was the branding. Would you agree? Is that about him being like, I'm Alexander Wang, I've got something to say?
I thought the autumn winter was quite serious and grown up. And so everyone was looking at it and thinking, oh, is that like a reference to what he's going to do at Balenciaga? Whereas there was nothing about anything else except him.
And maybe it is what you suggested, is he's kind of separating the two. He's being like, actually, this is an excuse for me to be so fun and really me, and
I just want to wear it.
No one knows. Exactly. I know.
I hate saying that on panels because it's such a silly thing to say, but it's really
I want to be that girl.
yeah, I'm like, oh,
I just want to tell her to put a top under some of those pieces. She's going to get into trouble. No.
You're like, not on my watch, lady. Well, should we give them another round of applause? Because that was such a brilliant collection. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Very cute.